Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Gender in Finance for International Women's Day 2024. So to go through the agenda for today, we'll start with an introduction to the team. Then we'll go to what is International Women's Day on the 8th of March. Then we'll talk about a little bit about women in finance and go into data on the Belgian financial industry. We'll go through our impacts, and then we'll go through what your impact can be. So first, we will do a mini introduction to the team. So I will do first an introduction to myself. My name is Matsi, and I am a job student for Women in Finance Belgium. And I'm also an MBA candidate at KU Leuven, Campus Brussels. And it's a pleasure to be here with you all today. I'll pass the floor then to my colleague, Claire.
Hi, everyone. Excited to see already 63 people in the call. And if you are curious and you have a look at the chat, you will see all kinds of different institutions, small, large, insurance, asset management, banks. It's really exciting. So happy to be there. I'm the co-chair of Women in Finance and happy to guide you in this session together with Matti that you just saw and together with Jeroen, who will just introduce himself now.
And I just unmuted, so normally you hear me. So yes, hi, I'm Jeroen. It's presiding the networking work stream within Women in Finance, and I've been working for 1 year now in the organization. And so I'm happy to be part of this webinar and to explain a bit my experience as well later on in this hour and a half. So back to you, Matti and Claire.
Thank you very much. So if you have any questions, we would love for you to post them in the chat, and we will leave a space for you after each segment to answer your questions. And also we ask if everyone could remain muted as well.
So indeed, today is International Women's Day. Is it like women's celebration, a little bit like, grandmother's feast or parents' feast? It's not about this. An international day usually is to really attract the attention on some actions which are still needed. So in fact, the themes chosen by the UN and the organization of the International Women's Day are invest in women and accelerate progress, but also invest in inclusion at the same time. So inspire inclusion more exactly. So these two are really super important themes in which we try to work as well. So let's move to the next one and see a little bit why would we still need an International Women's Day. At first, before we go further, I would like to just, say that it's an International Women's Day, and on this specific day, we can have also a thought to a few countries in which women's situation today is more than disastrous. And I would mention, of course, Afghanistan. Women in Finance had the opportunity to invite an Afghan human rights activist some years ago. Was really, really interesting. It's about Iran, it's about Gaza, and it's about all the countries where there is war, of course, including in the east of Congo. So really important to not forget the situation of women internationally. So yes, it's needed. And yes, we also see that some women's rights shrink, among which, for instance, reproductive rights in the US. We have seen that. We have seen also a very positive reaction in France to make sure that these rights cannot disappear. Gender-based violence is still very much prevalent. It's now more measured since people are using the word feminicide. So it's a question of life and death at some point. Women empowerment is known for contributing to more peace and stability in the world. And also we see that climate measures which involve women are more sustainable. And yes, gender bias is still very much present in science, in health. We know, for instance, that lots of experiments on new medications are done mostly on men with sometimes consequences of inadequate prescriptions. So in law, in HR processes, in AI, we still need to do lots of work. But today we'll focus, of course, on the situation of the financial sector. And let's just take a pause to think, why does investing in gender equality and inclusion make so much sense for our sector? And obviously, first answer, which would probably come if we were, a small group, and I could ask you to come up with ideas, you would say probably, well, obviously, clients are diverse. There's as many female clients as there are male clients. So obviously, we need to be able to connect to their needs, to the way their needs may evolve as well. But the second one is even more important, and I'll come back to that. It's the capacity to take together better decisions. It's also been known that gender mix is indeed boosting innovation capacity and improving the way companies manage risks and even ethics. Obviously, if we attract and to retain the best female talents, then once we have recruited the best male talents, we will continue hiring less good male talents to fill the gaps. So obviously it makes sense to really be able to be totally without any gender bias in the whole HR processes. And it's not all to attract, but the question of retaining means also being able to see talents and to offer development opportunities. And obviously, our sector can still build a better image. So these are kind of reasons, essential reasons why investing in women, investing in gender equality makes so much sense. In fact, in the way we talk at Women in Finance, we always say we work on this because it's the right thing to do, but also because it's the smart thing to do. Here already two very interesting articles that we are sharing with you. Maybe already a good news is everyone in this call will get a link in the coming days with the slides, but also with useful readings, among which useful articles. So that's really a promise we do. So first of these was highlighting how much once you move from a homogeneous male board, for instance, towards a more diverse group, the company's way of acting is shifting, and even the company's way of thinking, like becoming a bit more risk averse, but especially more open to real change, which is really interesting. While when you have a homogeneous group, it means the group is pretty much in their comfort zone and then reluctant to go for change. The second one, of course, for the bankers in the group, it really rings a bell. Banks with more women on the board commit less fraud. So it's also an impact on ethics. And you can sort of intuitively understand that when we are in groups where there is a strong variety of profiles, people of different ages, origins, genders, and qualifications, well, nearly automatically, we will have to challenge each other more. We will have to ask more questions. We will not, like, without even having to say it, come to quick conclusions. So because of that, that's one of the reasons why, for instance, on risk and ethic, you have a real impact. And just as I was mentioning, it's a slide I show often, so some of you may already have seen it, but it's really to show the impact of collective intelligence, the impact of the mix on collective intelligence and on quality of decisions. You move from an all-male, same generations, same origins panel, which only take the best decision in 58% of the cases in the study made by Eric Larsson a few years ago, and you move towards 73% when you have gender mix, which doesn't mean you have like one woman added to the all-male panel, obviously. You have ideally at least 1/3 of each main gender present. Then you have another progression when you make sure you have not only a mix of genders, but also generations. And this is absolutely key. We see it on all the new essential themes we face in society. AI, climate, we definitely need the voices of all generations. Voices of all generations, but also of all origins. And definitely in our little country, Belgium, a special attention also to linguistic diversity around the table, which also contributes to make us smarter. So now I give back the floor to Matti.
Actually, this will be for my colleague Yemin, who will
Sorry.
take over this part.
It's no problem. We'll arrange. So yes, maybe good to know that if you want to know what Women in Finance is about and how many members we represent. So as for today, we have 60 companies which are a member of the association, which represents more than 90% of the financial industry in Belgium. And so this is very good to see that we're really getting the whole industry behind us, and we're not only talking about pure banks. We have insurance, we have asset management, we have private banking, we have banks, obviously, and so on. We have regulators on top of this. So it's good to see that we really cover big ground in the financial industry in Belgium. And it's with pleasure that we can say that we are being used as an example already for other associations, for other industries. I don't take the credits because I'm only recently been joining, but all credits to Claire for the last couple of years that she's been working on it. We really try to accomplish something and is being picked up by other industries, so it's good to see. Now, what do we represent, or what is the mission? What's the objective? Because in the end, women in finance, as you see in the name, in the past it was women, now it's Wo.Men. This is not an accident that the capital M for men is involved, because men need to be involved. We want to strive for gender balance and equality in the financial industry. And so we want to accelerate this process. The figures show that there's a way to go. They also show, if you look at the annual report and some figures we're going to see soon, is that we're making steps. So it's going in the right direction, but there's still a way to go. And so the main focus here for Women in Finance is gender balance. Obviously, whenever there's an opportunity to go broader in scope, we won't let go that opportunity, but the main focus is gender balance and equality. And so we want to support both women and men in key career moments. Obviously, the focus is where there's the balance is not entirely equal. We're going to strive for the one or the other group, but we want to support them in all key career moments. So from hiring, finding the financial industry, to joining, so to staying in the industry, and also to get moving, albeit vertically or horizontally, as long as you can develop your career. We want to be there to support, and we want to support the members, the financial institutions, in having appropriate policies and procedures and frameworks to make this happen. And so, yeah, we are there to support our members. And obviously, we cannot do this on our own. We need the whole industry. It's a change of culture. It's a process. These things go step by step. And so to have a culture change, we need to have everyone pulling the same direction, bottom up, top down, and anyone in between. And so we have some values. I think the values, you see them on the screen, they speak for themselves. We want fairness, we want equity, inclusion, we want a sense of belonging, that everyone feels welcome in our industry, and we want to have impact, obviously, as an association and as an industry. Here you see a slide with members. As you will count, we don't have all 60 of them because we're so successful we cannot put it in one slide. It's just to give you a feeling on who are our members, but I think you know the financial industry. I think you won't be surprised to see a lot of names here, and if you know institutions or you're working at an institution that is not yet on this slide, please discuss this internally, think about it, reflect of becoming a member. We'll try to give a lot in return, and you might learn a lot from those already being there, because we all proceed on our own speed, step by step. Some are well advanced, others just started, and what I've learned personally is that we learn from each other, and that's one of the added values. There's no competition here. We're all going for the same goal, and so we're happy to welcome more and more members over time. So use your network and keep joining, I would say. And yeah, let's give the word back now really to Mattia.
Thank you. So I'll be presenting the results of Women in Finance, measuring gender mix at all levels. So through this global evolution, the number of female managers increased at all management levels, as reflected in the increase of our glass ceiling indicator. So as in the previous 3 years, the workforce in 2022 continued to be predominantly female, with women constituting of majority of the finance sector, sitting at 52.8%. So when we assess the progression of women representation at different levels of management, so here we're talking about middle management, senior management, women in the executive committee and in the board of directors, we observe for the first time in 4 years an overall positive trend at all levels. We can see a continuation in this trend when we look at the percentage of women in talent pools, as well as the percentage of women in recruitment. We can also see a decrease in the percentage of women in voluntary exits on the sector level, but it's also crucial to emphasize that the majority of hires and promotions and appointments to talent pools still favor men, so ensuring that they have equal or even more growth opportunities compared to women. So looking ahead, our commitment to gender balance remains unwavering, but we will continue to closely monitor the starter subsets, especially the promotions at executive committee level. So while progress has been made, our journey towards complete gender balance is still ongoing. And over here, you can see that Women in Finance also measures inclusion through our surveys. So as seen as the result of the Women in Finance survey on corporate culture and career obstacles, 28% of respondents considered leaving the organization because of specific blocking factors. As you can see, the top 3 blocking factors are the leadership style, office politics, and corporate cultures. It's important to notice that work-life balance is not a factor as to why people are leaving the organization. But we can also see that female senior managers are an outlier, where 37% consider leaving versus 23% of male senior managers. Here we can also see the top 3 career blockers for male and female respondents with office politics, work-life balance, and experienced leadership style. With office politics, we can see that men and women are more or less the same, but when we look at work-life balance, there's almost double the women who consider seeing this as a blocking factor than men, and there's also a huge gap between experienced leadership style as a blocking point as well.
And just to go a little bit deeper, I would like to offer a kind of definition about what would be office politics, because some in the call might ask themselves, okay, work-life balance, I understand, experienced leadership style. We all know that people tend to leave a boss rather than leave a company. So this makes all sense. But what is office politics? So for us, it's really, and for what is in research, there is not much research actually about it, but it's about, for instance, all sorts of non-written rules that would exist in your company. Typically, a non-written rule saying that if you work part-time, well, don't expect a pay raise. Or if you are in maternity leave, well, this year is not a year for your bonus or promotion. And of course, usually when you have these kind of non-written rules, there are absolutely no HR rules. And if the people of HR are interrogated, they will say, no, no, no. I mean, our rules are very strict and require the same way to, the same opportunities for people, whatever their work regime and so forth. It's more often something which is understood by some levels of management and which can create this situation. Office politics also embraces the fact that some decisions are not taken where they should be taken. Typically, like an evening in a corridor just 2 days before the meeting where the decision is supposed to be taken. It also seems that the more people climb the ladder, the more they feel the reality of this burden of office politics. Sorry for the small interruption.
No worries. Thank you for that. Then we can also see that 60% of participants believe that expressing a different opinion is appreciated. But then again, we can see that there is a difference when we look at female senior executives versus male senior executives, where it's 74% for men, but sitting at 61% for women. Now, when we talk about assimilation, we can see that 65% of respondents actually say that they have had to imitate behavior that does not come naturally to them. And we can also see with senior women, it's actually nearly twice as much as senior males. Now, moving on to soft skills, or how we like to call it smart skills, we can see that 74% of respondents believe that these soft skills are appreciated. So just more emphasis on what smart skills are. It is important to recognize these smart skills, as we can see these skills are the skills of the future. These are skills that cannot necessarily be automated, and we believe that it is something that is integral for the workplace. We can also see that 20% of respondents believe that soft skills are only financially incentivized. Now, moving on to sexism, jokes, and bullying, we can see that 26% of respondents have never heard sexist remarks or comments in the workplace. But when we look at it in the gender balance, we can see about 78% of women actually have heard sexist comments at work. We can also see that 64% of respondents have never been the target of bullying, but then there is quite a gender gap when we see 75% of men have never been a target of bullying, but only 60% of women have not been a target of bullying in the workplace. Moving on, we can see 56 of the respondents have never been the target of belittling comments or jokes at work. Yet again, there is a big gap between men and women, with 52% of women who have been the target of belittling comments at work. So 39% of respondents believe that such behavior decreased during COVID, 55% believe it stayed the same, but 65% say that this impacts them, and it is more women than men.
Maybe if I may interrupt, just take a second. You see a lot of percentages, but just take a second to look at those percentages. I let them sink in. To me, the differences between men and women here is very strong if you look at the belittling comments or jokes. So to all men present, just let those percentages sink in, and let's act on it as well as men when we are witness of any of those kind of comments, because we need to react on these things. So go ahead.
Thank you for listening to this particular part. I will move it on to our impact, and I think the floor is yours, Jeroen.
Okay, so this is one of the most boring slides you'll see today, but I think it's an important one just to give you a flavor on what is women in finance. So of course you know about the association, what we want to do, but we want to give you a feeling for those who are less familiar on our organization and how we try to accomplish that goal and our mission. So you see on this slide several things. I'm going to go top down. The top one is the advisory board. So this is in fact the assembly of all our members. A couple of times, 1-2 times per year, we come together to discuss amongst members what do we want from women in finance, what are the key points we want them to work on. And so there's really an interactive discussion. This is not just a formal approval of accounts. This is really an interactive meeting. And then underneath you have a board of directors. That's more the formal part of making the association live. But underneath then we get a view on the hands-on approach and who's doing what. And so if we start with the strategic committee, This is a new committee that has been created this year that will take place in a couple of weeks for the first time. It's composed of some senior people, like two CEOs, two senior women profiles, two HR directors, these kind of profiles that are in the committee. And the purpose of this strategic committee is that they will set out the lines. They will set out the direction to go, and they will monitor if we are effectively working the way we should and obtaining the results we want to obtain. So the strategic committee will take place 2 times per year, and will look at what has been done and what is planned to be done for the next couple of periods. Now, underneath that committee is what we say the core project team. So this is the people, the work stream leaders, which I will touch upon in a second, but also added with, of course, the women in finance team. And these are the three other people you see the videos, Mati, Adele, and Claire. They are in it for the daily operations, and they are working every single minute of their time for women in finance. And so they are on the floor, and they're assisted by some other experts. You will know the name of Nathalie Delare, for example, who has done research, who has given interviews as well on the research, and the numbers you saw came also partly from a survey conducted by her. So we have some experts with the core project team. And yeah, we just do the daily work and the activities such as this webinar, workshops, activities, events are organized by them, and supporting this are the work streams. So we have created a long time ago already six work streams. Sorry, you see them on the slide. The CEO work stream, the recruitment and promotion work stream, networking, international, cultural inclusion, and communication. I'm not going to go in detail, obviously, now what represent which one, but do know that this does not work without you as a member. So there are chairs. Someone has to preside the work streams, and I'm one of them. But obviously, this is work we do together with our members. So within each work stream, we easily have 15 people, sometimes more, from our members from the different financial institutions who join. So if you are willing to join one of those work streams, please do contact one of us, and we'll add you gladly, because in those work streams we discuss on what we can work on and how we can work that. We share experiences. You will see that a lot of people have experience and a lot don't, and we learn from each other. And that way we try to create different initiatives and to learn and to share materials. Later on, Claire will show you some of the tools we have in place. So this is where the work happens together with the core project team. And so, yeah, your participation is crucial. So we invite all the members that are interested and have some experience or want to learn to join these kind of work streams. So this is a bit our governance, and obviously we are not on our own. As an association, we need to work together, both internally as externally. And so here you see a bit the most relevant key stakeholders. As you saw already in the stream, a work stream is the CEO work stream. Obviously, a lot of initiatives, maybe also in your organization, are taken from bottom up. So the people start, getting together, forming groups, networks, employee resource groups, or you name it, taking initiatives, and that's very fine. But in the end, it needs to be supported from top as well. And so culture change only comes at the top as well, and trickles down into the institution. So CEOs and HR directors, to extension, is a very important group as a stakeholder we need to have on board. And so therefore as well, there are events like CEO breakfasts that take place from time to time, where we bring together those people so they can share experiences, so they can learn, and the peer pressure helps. So this is also a reason why we try to bring those people together. HR directors, as I said, HR has a very important role here, also for monitoring, reporting initiatives and the framework around that. Senior women, obviously, we need visibility. We need our industry to be visible also to women that are not in our industry, young or less young, but we need to show that their senior profiles are there and they need to share their experiences and show as an example how we can get there. Another one is the allies. I'm one of them. I hate the word. Really, if you find another word, please find one, bring it. But the idea is there. We need to be there to support. So we have a role. A culture change doesn't come from half of the population. It has to come supported by the whole population. And so whoever feels connected and want to support is invited to support to the extent that they can. Small steps help as well. Middle management, because obviously we already have more people at middle management than we have at senior level, but they are also team managers. They also have experience and expectations, so we need to get in touch with them as well, and we do get in touch, obviously. All employees, I don't need to explain that one. Young parents, I think one of the key elements that play a role in gender diversity is the fact of motherhood. So parents, not only mothers, but also fathers. I'm a father as well of two children. I have a daughter, which was one of the reasons I got involved. And so, the situation of a parent and how you arrange this balance with work and private life at home is important to discuss. So we're also going to target this kind of audience to know to advance and to see what are blocking points and how we can support these situations. So this is on the internal view. So we're looking at our members at the association, at the institutions, but obviously we need to reach out. And so, as I said, our sector is a very interesting sector. It can be very interesting. It's very diverse in terms of content, in terms of development, in terms of what you can do. But we need to have the people on board and we need to reach the talents. And there are specific functions where we see a dominance of men, and there are others where we see an overrepresentation of women. We need at all different levels, we need to reach also the students, and to make our industry attractive and to attract those talents, we need to get in touch with them as well. And that's also a focus point of Women in Finance, to take initiatives to target that audience. And then, as I said, we are considered as for some as an example of how you could organize as an industry. And so yeah, we're getting in touch with other associations that want to learn from Women in Finance, and it's useful that we can start sharing experiences. And one of the recent associations that have been created as well, and you see it on the background of Claire's video, is the Multicultural Bankers Association. As we say, Women in Finance is women in finance, so the focus is on gender, which does not mean that we stop there. There are other associations also in the chat. You can find the link already to other associations that are having inclusion as one of their key topics of the agenda. So we try to reach out to all of these, all at their own speed, all with the specific activities and events. And so if you have ideas there, if you want to contribute there, please be invited to do so, and yeah, we can move forward. Now, I think most of you are in an organization that is a member of Women in Finance. Perhaps not all of you know very well what's going on. And so, yeah, this is a good occasion to learn. Now, what does it mean? Being a member, to be clear, it's not a free lunch. There are commitments. And so it's there's, I think you all know about sustainability and greenwashing. Well, here we have another word that we can use, which is pink washing. Yeah, it does exist, and especially today you will see a lot of messages on International Women's Day, and we congratulate and we celebrate and so on, which is good. It brings the topic under the spotlight, but it's not limited to one day. So we do expect from members that they commit continuously, ongoing, and not just today. And so what we do is we want the companies to, data are important, so we want them to have a look at their own company and measure. Is there a glass ceiling? To what extent? At what levels how do the balance men, women look like at the different levels? From all employees to middle management to senior management to board to exco. And so we want data. So we ask our members to report on this data. And there are more things that we ask, obviously, because only on data we can see where we are and where we need to be. And so we also want you as a member, as a financial institution, to share what you've been doing. As I said, we learn from each other. We also want to monitor as an industry where we're heading to, where are we going. And so, yeah, we ask to share progression and the initiatives you take. And so is it through the networks? Is it through LinkedIn or other posts or reporting? There are different channels to get the information. And important, as I said, you saw in the governance, there was an advisory board. In the advisory board, we bring together the members. We want this to be something interactive and active participation, that you come up with ideas, that you see as well where you can contribute, and then we can work together to make this happen. So there are commitments. It's not a free lunch, but you can get a lot out of it, and that's normally the next slide, I may hope, that we'll see what you can get from it. And so there are a lot of things going on. This is just a very small overview. Later on we'll show you the calendar for this year of activities, but there's an annual event that where everyone will be invited, that we try to bring together people so you can do informal networking, but at the same time we will learn on specific dedicated topics. As I said, the CEOs are invited to take part in breakfast meetings where they can meet each other and see how they are each approaching this topic. HR director specific sessions take place, so we really target those people. As I said, we have workshops throughout the year. I think in the chat you see an invitation with the link to all the workshops you could subscribe to. Recently, for example, we had one with more than 60 people on employee resource groups, which was very attractive and which helped us giving support to our members on that topic. So there's a lot of exchange of information going on in a quite well organized way. Free consultancy. You have a lot of experts here in the room, the digital room today, but also the physical room. A lot of people with a lot of expertise and use this expertise, so we can really share. Claire often visits institutions as well to give presentations, to guide, to give assistance with HR, recruitment, or writing vacancies, you name it, and it can happen. Very important. We ask you to provide data, but you receive data as well. So we provide reports to the institutions on where you are compared to the industry. So you will get your own report on the different data you've reported in comparison to your peers, which will be very interesting to see how you're progressing as well as a company. And for new members, we also support a first, event in-house to get this topic under the attention of the employees of the institution, to create awareness, because in the end it all starts with being aware. And so there's a lot of benefits. This is just a basic list, but there's much more going on.
Maybe you can open the mic. Oh yeah, great. I just wanted to encourage everyone, if you have questions, surprised by some things, if you have comments, please feel free to share them in the chat. And I see already that Caroline, thank you very much, is offering several alternatives to the word ally. So that's already a good way of, mentioning advocates, backers, partners, and supporters. So indeed, we have some food for thought here.
I think it's you to go.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. So indeed, we do have lots of tools, and in place of just, showing you images of the tools, I would prefer to go live on the site itself. So if you can, I don't know if you only shared the PowerPoint or your whole screen. Yes, fabulous. So here we are on the site, and what you have maybe not seen is that Matti has directly jumped to the tools page. But feel free, if you go on the homepage, you will discover several very actual things. You will see our Inclusive March Challenge. And maybe some of you in the call have signed up for the Inclusive March Challenge. What is that? Well, in fact, we have 31 teams of around 15 different institutions who committed to every week during the month of March to be challenged by Women in Finance, to think together, to really do a kind of teamwork on issues related not only to gender, but to inclusion. And there will be prizes. And if you are curious, you can just on LinkedIn go in the research and check WIF challenge. And by doing this, you will see all the posts of the different teams about what they think, about what they came with the team thought about the different challenges. So it's already the second year that we do this. And the very interesting thing by working with teams is that that's probably one of the ways where we can have in the room not people who are already convinced, but somehow some just, colleagues who happen to be in a team where another colleague is passionate about inclusion. And because of that, you get to interact and get a reflection and an opportunity to discover new aspects for all these colleagues. So it's extremely interesting. On the homepage, you will also discover, for instance, our annual report, which is really, really interesting to discover. And more detailed results of the survey that Matti told you about. But let's go back to the tools page. And that one, really, we advise you to take some time to go for. First of all, there is the Inclusion in Finance toolbox. The easiest is to click directly to the toolbox. And if you do so, you will arrive on an ebook. And this ebook, in fact, is just, a document in which you find 25 different tools focusing on 4 different themes. One of them is biases. What do you really know about biases? Well, you will see that we have some tools for you, how to avoid biases in my team meetings, how to avoid biases when I recruit people. So you have these tools available. They are all available in English, French, and Dutch. So feel free to use them. Maybe, Matt, you can turn a few pages just so to show a little bit how it works. And next to unconscious bias, you also have tools about inclusive communication, about how can you foster a culture of inclusion in the company. Maybe I'll just show so that you really understand how it works. There's one of the tools is a link toward the implicit association test of Harvard, for instance. And if Matti is clicking on it, it just opens a page. And this page explains to you what is this test, how you can do it. It's all free. If you have 20 to 30 minutes to spare, and you say, okay, let's discover how biased I am on gender, on skin color, on disability, on age, well, you can do this for yourself. You don't need to report that to anyone else. It's totally confidential, and it's a kind of an eye-opener. So we are absolutely all biased, and it's good just to acknowledge this and to understand what we can do about it. So that's an example, but we can go back to the book itself. And we have tools about an inclusive work culture, about inclusive communication, even about how to use languages in communication on an inclusive way. On inclusive leadership, you even have one tool for the inclusive CEO with several recommendations. So feel free to discover this one as well. And the last topic is a very important one. It's the topic about what to do about microaggressions. Because microaggressions, you have seen it also in the slides that Jeroen commented earlier on today. The reality of small comments and all the impact they can have. We cannot avoid that people will out these comments, but in a culture which is inclusive, you feel comfortable to say so and to say, well, look, this question, I get it all the time and I don't feel comfortable with this question. Or, this joke didn't feel really okay with it. Could you kind of avoid it? And if that happens, well, as a colleague, you just, apologize and move on. We are not terrible persons because once in a while we have a kind of humor which may hurt others, but the important thing is to acknowledge and learn about it. So that was to show you a first range of tools which are all existing that we developed for you 2 years ago, but which are daily downloaded not only in our sector, so that's really cool to see. And then if we go a bit further, more low, you will see all kinds of tools which have been developed with the help of our different work streams. It's about the mentor starter kit. I was yesterday in a session for 8th of March where the Lioness Network of ING was also presenting their new mentoring project. And it's true that mentoring can be super beneficial for the mentors and the mentees. It's really something great. So how to develop this, for instance, the do's and don'ts with inclusive job ads. We've all felt sometimes that some of the jobs ads do not at all attract us. And why is that? And sometimes the job would be perfect for us. So it's really important to discover how to work on this. Also, a very interesting tool, which is just a little more below, if you will, thank you, is about how to put into place really a balanced succession planning. And that's definitely a domain in which we want to talk more with senior management and HR, because you can really make a difference if you have a balanced succession planning in place. So these are examples of tools that we share with our members, which are, of course, developed partly for HR and management, but absolutely useful for every one of us. So absolutely feel free. Maybe while you are still on the site, Matti, could you go on the events page so that everyone knows how to register for our upcoming events? And yes, exactly. So you go on activities and what do you see? You see just the session we are in. That's the first image. This is all of us together. And the second and third are cycles of sessions. So you do not have to register for all the sessions. There's always a series of 3, but you may just find, oh, wow, the personal development workshops, for instance, well, we have in this series, how can I react when I'm confronted to sexist remarks? Or how can I use nonviolent communication at work? So feel free to discover these because you are working for companies which are members of Women in Finance. Registering for these sessions is totally free. Most of these sessions are in person because it's rather on like very specific topics and we want people to be able to express themselves in a very safe environment. I see a very interesting question. Actually, Ellen, you are asking if we have already tools about office politics and how to deal with it. So we have actually a second workshop, which will take place in a few months, specifically on office politics. It's already the second one. And what we want to do is clearly to build also a toolkit about this, because we can see that there is indeed very few elements available. When you search about bias, you find hundreds of articles. When you search about office politics, you do not find a lot of things. So it's not well understood yet, it's not well known, and still, with the help of Nathalie Delard, we have been able to identify aggravating risks, for instance, for office politics, or things which could make go for a reduction of the consequences. So already the simple fact of having management becoming aware of oh, we might have some non-written rules, and which would they be? That's already a good start, because as soon as you identify non-written rules, you can annihilate them by writing the real rule and making it known by everyone. So that's just an example on this, absolutely. So very often after we start with workshops, and after the workshops, we go from workshop to kind of toolkit. In the other types of workshops, for instance, in the second part of the year, we'll have also a session for allies. So, or, sponsor or partners or whatever we will call them, all genders welcome. And that's really based on this experience. We also hope to be able to build kind of tools regarding how to train allies indeed. So sorry, you have made a beautiful calendar, Matti. I will let you present it.
Of course. So as Claire mentioned before, you can see on our website the different types of workshops we have for women in finance. Like we said, we have workshops on personal developments, but also workshops on how to contribute for change within your organization. So as you can see, Women in Finance does have quite a packed year. And I do believe that there is a workshop or an event for everyone in this call today. So as you can see today, the 8th of March, we are at the Invest in Women seminar. But we also have a plethora of events. One event that we would also love everybody to be in attendance for is on the 28th of May, which is our Women in Finance yearly event. And the theme for the event event this year is leadership. Moving on, we can see in the second half of the year, we also have quite a packed agenda as well. And as I mentioned before, you can see the link in the chat if you would like to attend one of the workshops, or would you want to recommend a workshop for somebody else in your organization to attend. We have a plethora of workshops and activities that we'll be doing this year. All right, now we'll be moving on to your impact.
Yes, because of course we do not do this workshop just to tell you about us. That would not be so interesting. I mean, of course it is, but it's even more interesting when we can really share and think together about what everyone can do. I was just prior to this session I was in different sessions since early this morning, because obviously 8th of March, and in one of the sessions, and I will not disclose any names or any places, so it remains confidential, but someone, like a white guy in finance, told me, yeah, but I'm quite confident that the things will, evolve by themselves. It's all going so well. So yeah, there's no need to be stressed about this. It's all, on track. Yeah, not so sure about it. I really think if we consider that this is really an important matter, because it's the right thing to do, but also because it's the smart thing to do, then it's important that everyone pays their part. And the first thing which is essential is becoming aware. It's fundamental. It's really starting to discover, yeah, but what is the reality? And why is this so important? Research has shown that when you are part of a majority, you do not realize what is the reality for the minority. This is true for gender, this is true for origins, this is true for all kinds of aspects. It's really, really important to invest some time and to put aside the things we think we know and to just learn. Just to give you an example, I'm working already 14 years in the matters of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And recently, I learned about something about which I thought, yeah, we can't do anything about this. It was about family violence. We all know that family violence exists, that it is a terrible situation, but I didn't think that companies could do really something. And then there is an association which is called CEAS, who is doing some work informing and training in companies. And I just learned about this. So really learning, challenging oneself is super important. possibly considering joining us, obviously, joining a work stream. Certainly, you are welcome. You have seen all the different things we do. So definitely you could reach out to us, but you could also reach out to a network in your company if you have networks. Employee networks are also something really efficient, a super efficient tool to make the company culture evolve. And Jeroen's work stream had a great event which took place at BNP 3 weeks ago with like 60 colleagues of all kinds of financial institutions, the ones who wanted to learn how to create a network, the ones who wanted to know how to boost their network, what the role of HR should be in developing a network, how to get sponsors involved. So it was super interesting as well. And becoming active in a network is a great opportunity because, first of all, for your own career, very often it's an experience of, for instance, getting into the board of a network. And so how do you co-lead this kind of informal structure? You need them to start doing some speeches. So it all is a boost for yourself as well. So definitely something to do engaging within your own company. And certainly in the same way of being aware and training oneself, following the LinkedIn page of Women in Finance is a way to learn about what we do. If some of you say, oh, too bad, I didn't know about the Inclusive March Challenge, but now that you told me, I absolutely want to join with my team, we will still admit a few late runners. So, I mean, if you really want to do so, it's not impossible. But there's a last thing which is not present on the slide, and that comes back to what Jeroen explained earlier. I would also want to add on this slide specifically, see something, say something, and be there for your colleagues. Be a true ally in all senses of the word, whatever your own gender. And also be attentive to, I would like to come back. I had 2 days ago this session with a huge group of women, and I was telling them, you know, sometimes colleagues and even female colleagues can be very harsh on a female leader who looks a little bit too masculine. Will be like, yeah, but you see, what's the point of having a woman at that level? She's behaving like a man. Sure, but remember the slide that Matti showed you about the pressure to assimilate. It is really difficult in some places. In fact, the more the company is inclusive, the less you will feel the pressure to assimilate. And I've seen personally senior women with a very masculine style who, when moving to a more inclusive environment, would really have their style evolve. So it's a bit hard because whatever these will do, they will be considered not doing the right thing. And just as I had expressed that in one of my sessions two days ago, one of the women at the end came to me and told me, Claire, what you just said, my whole career, I heard colleagues telling me or telling about me that I had such a masculine style. And of course, it was something quite hard on me. And I just did whatever I could to survive in a kind of, I wouldn't say hostile environment, but not very inclusive environment. So I think that that's certainly also an attention point. And now let's move to the testimonials part, where we will listen to how, first of all, Matti and then Jeroen view really what you can do yourself to contribute. So Matti, up to you.
Yes, thank you. As we previously mentioned, we have our internal and external stakeholders. So I would put myself as one of the external stakeholders as a student. I will admit, when I first heard about the finance world or the banking world, I did not have the most positive outlook on it. You know, you see these old white men in suits, or I had like the movie Wolf of Wall Street in my head, and I thought, okay, this is not a sector I will be working in. It's not something that I am interested in. I will park it and put it on the side. But once I started working with women in finance back in 2021, it really did open my eyes up to how inclusive the finance world is and where we are going in terms of inclusivity. It also showed me the importance of male allyship, or should I say male partnership, within the finance and banking sector. And I can see that there is a space and a section for women, for men, for everyone of different origins to really not only be inside of the finance world, but see an opportunity where they can also grow and develop within finance as well. And having an initiative like this, I feel like is something that is integral. It's something that is forever being worked on. And it really did open not only my eyes up to the finance world, but when I talk to my fellow female colleagues or even talk to my male colleagues, and my university classes, it really is something that is eye-opening and life-changing, shall I say, for us. So Women in Finance really did give me a different perspective on finance, and also gave me a bit more confidence when working in this industry, and also shows that we have a group of people who are committed to making change, and this change can and will happen. I'll pass it on then to Yevon.
Thank you, Matti. It goes without saying, I'm a male ally, and so I can give you that perspective. To me, last year I joined Women in Finance, and honestly, this year I will be working 20 years in the financial industry, and for 19 years I was unaware and completely oblivious of what was going on and that this was even a topic. So I think it's ridiculous to have to admit this, but I'm sure that a lot of men are in the same position and they don't know that this is even a topic. And so, it's just by accident that I got involved because I'm working in the same building as Claire, and she invited new joiners for a lunch, and that's how I got into it. And I think it is very important awareness, knowing what this is about. And then the last year, what have I been doing is mainly listening, because what can I say from my position? I'm privileged. I didn't have any career blockers. I didn't have any comments, or not that I know of, at least. And so, yeah, I listened, and I was surprised from what I heard so far, and that is for me a motivation to be part of this association, and then. Yeah, why do we join, or why did I join specifically? Because it's a topic that has a societal value, while in the financial industry we're often working in technical, specific areas. So for me, this was another dimension to my job, and okay, it comes on top of it, so it takes time, but it's fine. You see accomplishments, and it gives you motivation to do so. But as and the data speak for themselves. So I mean, just have a look at them, and enough already that there's still work to do. But for a man, I was very hesitant to join Women in Finance because I felt I was, entering a territory that was not mine. And I think a lot of men may have this feeling as well, or they may think it's a women's club, so let's leave men out of it. And that, I think, I'm sure is the wrong approach, because only by supporting this and the events and the activities and the ideas, we can change certain things. And so, they had to convince me that this is a role I could play, or I should play, or they would like me to play. And it's a supportive role. I think that's an important message, because, okay, I've been speaking a lot already. That's normally not what is needed. Normally we just support, and I'm here in another role, I know. But, we listen and we give the podium to other people, but we push the agenda, and where we can. That can be very informally, by just, as we said already, by giving some feedback, by giving some comments, but this can be also very formally, by changing governance, by really putting projects. And so, that's the dynamics I've been in. And what I've seen so far, I was invited to be the chair of the working group on or the work stream on networking. Every 2 years, by the way, there's a new chair, so we keep things fresh. And so I've been seeing a lot of people with a lot of fresh ideas, a lot of good ideas with experience, but mainly very motivated people, very committed. And for everyone, it comes on top of the job. And so there's the time is precious. We all have our work, we all have our lives, and then this comes on top. So it's a commitment. But I see the people really are motivated. They show up time and again, and they come with good ideas. It can take away energy. It can be sometimes heavy. It can be sometimes be demotivating because it doesn't go fast enough. That's something I've seen as well. But somehow, if you persist, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, one step back, and you move forward. So this is something that I noticed the last year, that this is a good dynamics to make things happen. And as I said already, every company has their own speed, so it's fine if you know nothing. Just like me, for example, I've been asking a very stupid question a couple of weeks ago. Like we were discussing an event for the 8th of March, and my question was, what is happening on 8th of March? So yeah, you can make, I learn every day again, but that's fine. And every company at their own speed. So if you're at the beginning, that's no problem. If you're advanced, no problem. Let's learn from each other. And so these for me are the takeaways from the last year, and I'm happy to be part of it. And so as far as I'm concerned, next year more of the same. So
Excellent.
I don't know how many men are in the call. Maybe you can wave a hand. I hope there are 78 out of 78, but I'm afraid there aren't. But just talk to your male colleagues as well. We can all make fun of this or make a joke or something, but at least take it seriously if you want.
I saw one hand.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Luc as well, two. No, I'm sure there are many more. Guylain as well, very good. Thank you, all of you, for being there anyway. Maxime, Vianney, yes. So much more people than what, I mean, we were really pleased to see really a big group of people registering. Very, very good. Now we do have some time for questions. I didn't see other questions in the chat, but as we have the time, if any one of you would like to express a question, you just raise your hand and we'll give you the mic. So feel free to do that. Okay, if really no question, because everything was super, super clear, I would just ask you certainly before we let you go to really watch for the mail we will send you, to really take the time to go through our site, to follow us on LinkedIn, to interact, to join the first workshop in order to understand, okay, what kind of benefits do I find in this workshop? So voila, really do continue doing this investment. I think that's the most important. We see lots of positive feedback, people not having questions, but really happy. And indeed, strong testimonial given certainly also by Jeroen. Thanks for that. Great.
Part of it.
Yes, what? There is a question. Let me check what it is. Voila. It takes courage to admit to that uncertainty. Thank you for sharing. I cross my fingers that many others will follow your example. I do believe the vulnerability is something that should enter our workspace more as well. Be more human on any level. CEOs, members of the executive committee, senior managers, all feel uncertain as well. If they can speak up, a lot more will happen. What do you think that they can do to have a bigger impact? Is there too much uncertainty from their side to move faster? Maybe I can comment on that because already 2 years in a row, we've had a group of CEOs together. And that was a very interesting experience. The first year we got 15 of them. The second year we got 20. And we just sent the save the date yesterday for their next breakfast session in November. And I can already say that 24 hours later, already 14 confirmed they will be there. So we see each time, and it's a positive feeling. We were very clear from the start that this would be for CEOs only. So as a CEO, if you cannot be there, you cannot be replaced. So it's quite interesting. For them, you see there is really this shift, and lots of CEOs know how much this is essential. Some of them still struggle a bit about their role and feel like they cannot do much. Some of them are more talkative than others. But what I've seen is also, it's a very interesting group to have, because nobody can persuade a CEO better than other CEOs. And so that's also why we do have like a CEO session only for CEOs, a HR directors session specifically for HR directors, and a senior women session once a year as well. So it's not simple. Definitely, they could have a bigger impact than what they have. They could go faster. They could go with even more insistence. But we see clearly progress. So I think it's a matter of keeping addressing all of these different stakeholders, make sure that they feel the pressure to go further. Peer pressure is clearly one of the elements which drive success of women in finance. I had not expected that at the beginning, but it's a reality. And so, I mean, what we want is really this shift in the culture and this shift in the numbers. And if peer pressure helps, why not? Of course, the best is that people act because it's the right thing to do and because it's the smart thing to do. And maybe these can be like concluding words, as I don't see any other questions or comments. So that's all good for you. You can reach us, it's not difficult. There's also info@womeninfinance.be. And let's keep in touch. And for the ones of you who say, oh, definitely I want to invest more, let us know and we'll be happy to keep in touch with you. Okay, have a good afternoon and an excellent International Women's Day.